Cool. Hello, 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 hello. So I how to say? So on this channel, I've been sort of conflicted about the music. So insofar as sending it or anything like this, and I thought to myself, oh, actually, I don't need to. I wrote these albums, and I'm in the process of writing kind of the last album about this particular individual, which really inspired me to create music in the first place, which is called Baku plus Mike, which means something like cat plus goat in Kanigan, or Kanadan, which is the South Indian language. Anyway, so I realised that that's what I have to do. But the person who inspired it, I had a thought to send him, what do you say, a message really, I suppose, but like a letter, explaining how I felt and all of the reasons why I created the music and what it was like what he taught me. So essentially a letter of gratitude, and so I wrote it. So I wrote that letter, but I reflected for a few days because I thought, I don't know how to do it, like how to send it after what, it's been 2 years, 3 years almost, that we met, there was a night, la la la, and that also, like, I realised he was the last person to talk to me over Instagram and messaging, and I didn't reply back because I was in such a state of, it was just too difficult for me emotionally, so I didn't respond back, and I forgot that that was the case, as I was the one, in essence, that sort of ghosted, and so I feel quite conflicted about that, obviously, because I had this sort of different narrative in the sort of chaos of my emotional interior life. But anyway, I realised that actually I don't need to send any of these things to any of these people, to Mika or the Panther, or to the Jaguar, or to the Kind One, or any of them. I don't. I wrote, actually, in the Little Pharaoh as well, I wrote all of them these gratitude letters, I guess you would say. But I realised I don't need to send the music or the letters to them, because I realised it was more that I just needed to write the letter, that I just needed to make the music, but I don't necessarily have to do or send it anywhere or do anything with it in that way. It doesn't have to be such a directly proportional thing. I think it's a lot more bound up with that I am. I don't know, that I just needed to express what I felt, and I needed to acknowledge, actually, I realised, I really had to acknowledge that that I had that gratitude, that I was, to reconfigure all of the pain and the misery, reframe it, I guess you could say, into something like that made more sense than trying to, I don't know, create a sort of, a drama, sort of, right? In a way, because it just sort of continues the same methodology. Like, it's funny, my friend said to me yesterday at work, she said, well, maybe you're like a bit of a masochist in a way. Like, maybe you're looking for pain in order to fuel your creativity, because of course creativity, I mean, no one makes goddamn music or paintings or literature about, sunflowers and fucking, unicorns and rainbows. It's not really about happiness, it's not being happy. People who create are not happy people. The fuel is not that when you're happy you dance, or you you be with friends, or you you do something. It's when you're down and melancholic or miserable that you go inside yourself and try to figure out why. Right? It's a constant journey. And so now that I sort of have figured out more why, and try to reframe this sea of this sea of darkness into an ocean of light, trying to transform it, you know, by sheer willpower and by my creativity and by my whatever. I realised that that's the case. That's all I needed to do all this time. And then, on top of that, in this individual sense of these different people who are the muses for these musical projects, then all I had to do is, in a way, just acknowledge in myself, you know, lower my ego and lower my, I guess, feeling of significance, and realise actually all I need to actually really admit is my own thankfulness, gratitude for what they taught me. You know, not at the time necessarily, but later in reflection of for myself, from my perspective. And I thought there's no point in me, because I really debated in my head about sending the messages, but sending the message, especially to this one individual, who, Mike. Because I thought, well, there's so much that I wish he would know. I wish, you know, but then at the same time, is that not just a projection of my own ego, of wanting validation, of wanting to be significant, you know what I mean? Like, not to mention all these other factors that it would be irrelevant for him, but, you know, not to mention these other things, like class and race and culture and language and all these things, like, what am I to say, you know, oh, you're the first person I was vulnerable with in my entire life, outside of my family, and, you know, you're the first person that made love to me, not just fucked me, you know, and, I don't know, what else, I mean, like, what, I tried to learn your language, I've written, you know, 3 or 4 albums about you, I've written a book, a play, you know, collection, an anthology of poems, etc., etc. I mean, it's like, what the hell would be your response if someone sent you that, right? Like, that's what I have to think about, like, that too, like, what... But then on top of all of that is also this thing of, like, I don't really want to actually re-engage, because I realised I had the friend said to me, like, Millie, you can't just, like, send, like, dear person, not going to say the name, well, actually, you'll all know the name fairly soon, because I've written a song with his name, real name, but yeah, like, you can't just send this out of the blue letter, this really resonant passage, right? It's this thing, this work in and of itself of what 500 words, but nevertheless, this message. You can't just send that. It's like cannon fire across the ship. You have to sort of say, "Hello, how are you?" and do the salutations. And because I'm so, like, sometimes so autistic, I forget that that's sort of what normal people, and what is not. I mean, it's not. It's just sort of respectful to have the salutations and all of this, sure. But I thought to myself, like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I just don't want to engage, period, you know? And I don't know if that's because I'm quite happy in my misery. I'm not really. I think that's kind of a bit of a glib thing to say. But I do think that it's in thinking about the possibility of having to do that, of having to say, "Hello, how are you? Long time no speak, and here is the thing that I wrote. Dear you, la 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 la. This is how you're, like, my gratitude and how you're significant to me as a figure in my life." And you have no idea, and that sounds just psychotic. I mean, like, if you receive that, you'd be like, this person is unhinged. This, yeah, you know. And I'm like, maybe I am. I don't think I am. I think I'm, obviously you can see me in this, I think I'm relatively a stable person. I mean, what you see is what you get. I'm not, like, when the camera goes off, I'm not like, I'm pretty much how I am. But, you know, and so I think to myself, well, yeah, it's weird, I just don't want to do that. I don't want to engage with any of them, really. You know, I thought I did with the kind one, and I tried that, but then the subliminal, like, the instinctual element of his responses, I'm like, you're not really interested. You never were. I just was too arrogant or whatever, you know, to admit that to myself instinctually. The same with Jaguar. I mean, he felt something at the time, but he's moved on, right? And the same with the Panther. I mean, there's nothing there that there was never going to. I mean, this is a real thing. This is a real point. There was never going to be anything there. That was never going to happen. There was never going to be anything of any significance, you know, because yeah, like what will come to you will come to you when you're yourself. In that way, you know, like everything that you like, not desire per se, not that you go out and think, oh, I want that, but the things that come to you, relationships, people, jobs, whatever, because of who you are, you know, like you have to be yourself first, and then society forms itself around you in this regard. And it sounds vaguely solipsistic, but that's not how I mean it. But anyway, and I think it's like that with this. I think it's just more, of course, having to go inside my soft interior of myself and heal and learn through these experiences with these people and reflecting deeply upon them and making all of this artwork and music out of them. And then, you know, primarily it's a selfish exercise. Selfish not in the sort of like self-obsessed sense, I don't think. I think more it's just in the universal, I'm a human, we're all human, but these things are not clear until you go through it. Like you're told things a million times, sayings or, you know, common knowledge, like common sense, or old sort of colloquialisms and sayings which are, you know, ancient, but you heard it a million times, so it loses its resonance until something happens and you go, oh, that's actually what that means, you know. And I think that that's sort of where I'm at now, is that I realise, oh, now I know a lot more about life. And this year for me, for whatever reason, I think because it's post-pandemic and lockdown, and, you know, significant things happened in my life and my family's life. And so I think it's just that thing where it's like 2 years or 3 years condensed into 1 year because of this, you know, the weird temporality we've just all been through of the plague and everything. And I think that's probably part of it in the macro sense. In the micro sense, yeah, my own personal stuff, like with myself and sexuality and sex and desire, learning about intimacy, the psychology of all of this, the philosophy of all of this, and seeing my family go through different things, and then just realizing actually I can be creative. I can make music. It doesn't have to be symphonic. It doesn't even have to be like, as you've heard, it doesn't even have to be like, you know, music in the sense of, I don't know, whatever one assumes to be music. I don't assume music to be anything now. I kind of feel like, wow, it's really truly vast and brilliant. It's really breathtaking. It can be so many different things at once. And there's so many different forms of expression within it, music. And yeah, so for me it's more like that. And I just realised that that's cool. That's cool. And I don't need to share directly to the people that inspired it. Because also I just realised on another level, is that I think a lot of it would just bring up a lot of their own insecurity and their own feelings of, oh, what if, you know, maybe we could have or couldn't have, and that I don't want to cause psychological dysregulation. It doesn't interest me to do that. I mean, you know, and that's also another big factor. As to, I'm like, what's my intention? What was my intention, or what would have been my intention behind sending these men these albums or even these messages of gratitude? It seemed like a very sort of selfish in the external sense, like it evidently almost narcissistic in a way. Not really. I don't think a narcissist would actually do that, but I think it's that sort of thing where it could be in that sort of hint towards that sort of hinterland of that sort of way of being, thinking. And so, yeah, I thought, well, I'm not like that. I have no interest in this, as I said at the beginning of this video. I don't really have any interest in creating drama, funnily enough, for other people. Maybe, probably just for myself, in a way. I mean, in a way, not really. I live a very quiet life. I prefer the solitude. I really treasure my solitude above all else, and quietness, and just, you know, being below the surface. I'm not really interested. I feel very feminine in that way as well. I feel very sort of like I want my own solitude, and I'm quite happy not to be having to, you know, you know, be out there and blah 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 with people and trying to, I don't know, compete or whatever. It doesn't interest me at all. I mean, it's sort of, it's just boring. And yeah, so I don't know, at the end of the day, it's a weird thing to go through all of that for like 3 years of just, and then this year to finally start doing stuff. But then, yeah, realizing that, I'm kind of so used to my whole life in different ways, it felt as if I was dancing in flames. And so it's just sort of like I'm socialized in a way, like I'm conditioned, like an abused animal almost, to expect some form of drama or trauma or something like this in order to actually feel alive and not bored and not, I don't know, this feeling of like, I don't know what to describe it, like ennui. It's like a chronic boredom if you don't feel like a drama. But I think there's so many people that feel like that. Like old people, it's very, very common that they create drama. Same with younger people. Younger people do it because they're full of hormones and they don't know the difference. But older people do it, I think, because they don't have the stimulation. It's to do with stimulation. And so they create drama. I've been friends with a few older people who have done this, and unfortunately that sort of behaviour is, predisposes you to narcissism and personality disorder type stuff, and psychopathy and la la la. So, for me, it's like I'm not interested in that sort of trajectory, and so for me, I'm creating stuff, but I mean, I see myself as like a small e eccentric rather than a big E eccentric, like not a capital E but a small E. I don't know how else to say it like that. Like, I just don't give a fuck if someone watches me or not. Like, I was dancing last night at this club, and I was crying and laughing at the same time, looking up at the disco ball, because I thought to myself, oh, like, I wrote these letters by hand, and then I was like, you know what, I feel amazing, like, I feel, like, serene, and that there's this huge weight off my shoulders, and that I can now, like, just go, and I felt free, like, free from the tyranny of my own labyrinthine obsessions, I guess, in terms of desire, the liquidity of desire. And so, yeah, it's a weird day. I'm not sure what to do. I was going to go see my parents, but I'm just, like, it's a while away, and it's a lot of energy to do that. But maybe tomorrow. But yeah, I don't know. I feel good. I'm going to continue making music. I'm going to finish this album, Baku plus Mike, and then maybe do one more, because I have sort of one more that I want to finish. It's more just now at this point it feels more like I just have to finish the thing, like complete the cycle, just so it's a body of work, rather than it being like resonantly imbued with stuff. I think the last real work that was really raw, you can hear it, was Rocks are Diamonds. And I think that EP is probably, for me, I think the most, probably at the moment anyway, on this channel, the most raw, emotional one. I mean, I'm literally crying in it, so there you are. But yeah, so it's like that. But yeah, Baku plus Mike, and then Black Rose, and yeah, just to sort of, just to tie these things together. I have this sort of, I want to do it, you know what I mean? Like, I feel very much the need to put the full stop on the sentence. I can't just let the sentence halfway through and then pull the pen away, it feels kind of like that. Like you're writing a sentence and then you stop for whatever reason, you're interrupted or whatever, and you never come back to it. I mean, that would drive me mental. That would drive me fucking mental. So I have to, it's like an OCD thing, I don't know. It's like a weird OCD thing, I suppose. But yeah, I kind of feel like I'm going to probably start, eventually, I'm not tomorrow or next week or next month, but probably start dating again. But I've been reading about European versus American / I guess Australian dating techniques, and I really, really think the way that Europeans do interpersonal dynamics is so much more suave and sophisticated and just real, just organic. And I really find a lot of resonance with that, and so I'm going to try and learn to articulate that. I'm going to sort of practice doing that myself, with myself, like it's like seduction. You have to practice self-love too. It's like doing it, you have to do it with yourself, on yourself first, right? To have any chance to do it with someone else. So yeah, I don't know. See how we go. Life's a wacky thing, eh? But oh well, you only get one time, so that's it. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Thank you for watching, and yeah, keep making music, and keep creating, and keep thinking, and keep learning, and keep being curious, and playful. Yeah. Okay, thank you.